This past week, I think this publishes a week later, so it's going to be 2 weeks ago if you're listening. It was the Canadian Mortgage Summit in Brampton. It was great, fun time. It was pretty crazy. I think at the peak of it, they had like 1,500 people. People were like parking on the lawns. People got in and said it was a war zone out in the parking lot. We got there early, so we didn't have to deal with it. But yeah, ton of people there. Great event, a lot of fun. I was fortunate enough to get onto one of the panels where we talked about AI. And I want to tell a bit of a story about it. AI, of course, the biggest buzzword of our time, it seems, right now, and I think for good reason. But let me tell you this story because I think it's a good one, and I think it reflects some of the things I've talked about on this podcast. So, yeah, before the panel, little inside baseball, which is actually not too much of a secret. You probably could guess it. We always do a pre-panel thing. Everyone gets together and says, okay, what are we talking about? Let's not make sure we're stepping on each other's toes. Let's make sure we're not going to say something that's going to contradict the next person in a meaningful way. It's okay to disagree, but let's just kind of get on the same page here. So we had that call and it was great. And a lot of our questions, the panel is about technology and AI. And so I said, okay, what are some of these technologies that you're using with AI and what's the future and all the stuff you'd expect? And we're kind of talking about it, doing that sort of stuff. And then about halfway through, it was some on the panel, Dong Lee, who's now with Axiom Scarlett. That's their product, Axiom Innovations. He's the CEO there now. He kind of said, you know what, I was just in the States and I was at a mortgage tech conference down there. And honestly, a lot of the shine, I guess you could say, about AI has kind of come off. People last year were so excited, but this year I didn't hear it as much. And people are honestly getting a little bit maybe exhausted from hearing that over and over and over again. And it was hilarious because there's about 4 or 5 other people on the panel, including myself, all completely jumped on. Like the energy of the call just picked up and said, I completely agree. And we kind of had a little discussion about that. And it reflected, maybe not to the same degree. We kind of found that happy medium on the actual panel. But I think it was just interesting to hear that, hey, we've talked about this on this call where AI is a very interesting solution right now, but you can't be solution oriented. You have to be focusing on the problems. And at least right now, there's not a ton of, I guess, problems out there that are very well solved by AI. And I think that reflects, part of the panel, and we talked about this for anybody who was at that conference, was they said, how are you actually using AI right now? And there are some solutions. And the ones off the top I'll list are: 1, helping to draft emails; 2, helping to summarize notes; and number 3, this is a cool one, especially for deal submission platforms like Filogix and Scarlett, having a note summary. So, okay, I'm about to submit to the lender. I want to, of course, summarize what this file is. They can kind of pull through, the different details of that file and actually put together a nice summary, which is, I think, the most popular tool. But, I thought to myself, I said, well, all 3 of those things I could do in ChatGPT. All you're doing is you're taking ChatGPT and you're just putting it in my app, which is useful, of course, just integrating it together. But no one got up there and said, hey, a lot of brokers are doing this tool that writes a song for them and then sends a song to their clients. That stuff's not happening yet. That goes into the bucket of very cool solution, very, very cool solution, but it's not solving a real life problem. The real life problems that are being solved by AI are mainly just done by ChatGPT. And I love ChatGPT, of course, but it's really, interesting to see there. So, just a bit of a summary to wrap that up with that panel, both in the pre-call, maybe a bit more, but also in the panel. People were actually a lot more focused. Let's not look at the shiny objects. And there's a lot of shiny objects. There's a lot of noise out there. Let's not focus on those things. Let's focus on the practical things that people can use today. And let's not get distracted by those other things. But of course, I think, again, in both places, we said, but stay curious, because in about 10 years, AI will be used heavily. We just don't know which one it is yet. And at least for now, there's a lot more noise than there is signal out there. So pretty cool to kind of see that and to say, okay, these things that we're talking about on this podcast here are really, I guess, shared views in the industry.